So picture it. You are sitting in like a heavily guarded underground bunker.
Oh, classic movie setup.
Right. A radar operator points to a blinking green dot on this massive glowing screen and just whispers, "There it is."
Because we've been completely trained by, decades of sci-fi blockbusters to expect that soon contact will be sterile and scientific.
Yes. Precise. We want objective data to anchor us, like radar blip or no radar blip.
It's a very comforting fantasy,
Hmm.
honestly. We desperately want these world-altering paradigm shifts to be delivered through official channels,
Hmm.
wrapped up in, heavily redacted government dossier. It gives this illusion that someone, somewhere, is actually in control of the situation.
But then you step into the intersection of modern disclosure and esoteric analysis, and suddenly that comforting radar screen just goes completely dark.
Yeah, it really does.
Today, April 28th, 2026, we are looking at a landscape of first contact that is entirely unconventional. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
Our mission for you right now is to explore a highly unusual but honestly deeply fascinating source. It's a newly published six-card tarot spread specifically focused on alien contact developments.
Yeah, and it was published by a mystical analyst known as Astra Obscura scribe.
And I have to say, combining the ancient esoteric world of tarot with the incredibly modern geopolitical concept of extraterrestrial disclosure, it's just a brilliant collision of worlds.
It really completely shatters that rigid scientific framework we usually rely on.
Right.
And for you listening, I want to establish our baseline right out of the gate here. Even if you view tarot as, nothing more than ink on cardboard,
Yeah,
you have to appreciate the utility of it.
totally.
Tarot is essentially a mapped-out framework of human archetypes and psychology. What Astra Obscura's spread offers is a profound lens for understanding the logistics, the emotional fallout, and, well, the power dynamics of a potential first contact scenario.
It takes this massive abstract concept of aliens and grounds it entirely in human reactions and our societal infrastructure.
Exactly. We are definitely not just talking about little green men today.
No, we are not. We're going on a journey through the initial spark of contact, the incredibly messy reality of the disclosure that follows, and ultimately a very surprising outcome for humanity.
Because every major paradigm shift begins with a sudden burst of energy.
So let's look at how this analyst frames the foundation of our current situation.
Right, so the spread begins with a card representing the current underlying energy. And they drew the Ace of Wands, upright.
Okay.
Now, in tarot mechanics, when a card is upright, it means you are getting the pure, unobstructed expression of that card's core theme.
Got it.
And the Ace of Wands is a very potent starting point. Astra Obscura describes this as a fresh ignition, like a new wave of inspiration, a revelation, or literal first contact energy entering the collective field from unseen realms.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that phrasing, fresh ignition, is just incredibly evocative.
It really is.
To me, this Ace of Wands feels like striking a match in a pitch-black room. You've been stumbling around in the dark for decades, hearing rumors of what's in the room with you, bumping into the furniture.
Yeah, it's totally blind.
Exactly. And suddenly flashes this undeniable, sudden illumination. You just can't unsee what the match reveals.
That is actually the perfect mechanism to describe it.
Right.
The Ace of Wands isn't a slow dawn. It is a spark. It forces an immediate reaction.
Right.
The analysis specifically notes that something is awakening or being offered from unseen realms. It's an injection of raw potential into the collective consciousness.
But, a spark in a dark room is just chaotic light without a container.
Exactly. If this energy is going to mean anything to the public, someone or something has to actually deliver the message and give it shape.
Which is exactly where the narrative takes a really sharp turn into the unexpected. The second card, representing the key influences, is the Queen of Wands, also upright.
Yeah.
Astra Obscura frames this energy as incredibly confident, magnetic, and visionary. But here's the part that made me literally stop and reread my notes.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
The analyst suggests this Queen of Wands could represent a human public figure, a collective awakening, or, and this is the wild part, an extraterrestrial intelligence that actively presents itself as wise and charismatic.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is the medium is the message.
Wow, okay.
By leaving the origin completely ambiguous, the source highlights a fundamental truth about human psychology. We don't just consume information, we consume the personality delivering it.
So true.
Whether this charismatic force is a human whistleblower, some brilliant rogue scientist, or a literal non-human intelligence broadcasting a global message, the disclosure will be led by a highly magnetic visionary force.
But wait, let me push back on that for a second. Based on the Queen of Wands, are we looking for a human stepping up to the mic? Or does the source imply the alien intelligence itself is managing its own PR?
Source leaves it open on purpose.
Because if we are talking about an advanced alien race managing its own PR campaign to appear wise and charismatic, doesn't that inherently imply, like, manipulation?
Oh, absolutely.
How do we trust a visionary energy that we don't even fully understand? It sounds like they are bypassing our analytical defenses on purpose.
There is a highly critical observation, and it's exactly the tension the Queen of Wands introduces. You are absolutely right. It bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to inspiration and emotion.
Right. It feels like a workaround.
It is. Think about it. If an intelligence wants to prevent mass panic, leading with charisma, rather than a display of raw military power, is the ultimate strategic move.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It shapes the narrative of contact, not as a hostile invasion, but as this bold, inspiring new frontier. It ensures that the spark from the Ace of Wands isn't just terrifying, it's captivating.
So it's basically the difference between receiving a sterile, bureaucratic memo from the Pentagon and watching a charismatic leader give a speech that gives you literal goosebumps. The delivery method is explicitly designed to create followers, not just informed citizens.
Precisely. But, as with any massive societal shift, the initial inspiration is only the honeymoon phase.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The reality of integrating that shift into our daily lives is where the structural integrity of our world really gets tested.
And usually, that structural integrity completely fails.
Pretty much.
Which is where the spread moves from the fiery, inspirational energy of the wands into the heavy, dense, practical earth energy of the discs.
Right, moving from fire to earth.
If this first contact spark is so brilliant and visionary, why doesn't the rest of the process go smoothly? Astra Obscura draws the two of discs for near-term developments, but notes that this card is reversed.
Now, earlier we mentioned that an upright card is the pure expression of its energy.
Yeah.
When a card is reversed, that energy is blocked, inverted, or just breaking down. The two of discs is traditionally about balance, like managing the flow of resources, information, and daily life. Reversed, it is a clear warning that balancing these disclosure efforts will violently fail.
Wow.
The analyst explicitly warns of logistical complications, conflicting narratives, and severe short-term unsteadiness.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because when people think of mystical tarot readings, they usually expect like vague prophecies about spiritual ascensions or shifting into higher vibrations.
Right, the love and light stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this sounds like a global supply chain crisis mixed with a geopolitical PR nightmare.
It really does.
I look at these discards and I have to ask, are we looking at a profound spiritual awakening or just a messy, bureaucratic cosmic trade negotiation?
It is entirely the latter, at least in the short term.
Wow.
Yeah, the source is highlighting a very real, very dangerous clash between the stark of contact and the messy integration of reality.
Right.
It's easy to have a visionary moment. It is agonizingly difficult to restructure global human society to accommodate the fact that we are not alone.
I want to dig into the mechanisms of that breakdown. The analyst mentions conflicting narratives. How does that actually play out? Because it's not just someone dropping the ball. It feels like it would be intentional chaos.
Well, think about how human infrastructure and governments actually process data. It's like trying to run a massive, complex, modern software update on a computer built in the 1990s.
Oh, man, the blue screen of death?
Exactly. The hardware, our societal infrastructure, our religious institutions, our economic markets simply cannot process the new data fast enough, and the system freezes.
So it just crashes.
Yes. And if 3 different superpowers receive 3 different signals, or pieces of alien technology, the dropped balls aren't just miscommunications. They become active, weaponized embargoes on the truth.
Oh, I see. So Nation A spins the disclosure as a military threat to secure funding. Nation B frames it as a divine event to control their population.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And the public is left completely unmoored in a sea of contradictory information. The information flow drops because it's being pulled in too many directions by existing human power structures.
Exactly. But the complications aren't just about information. They are deeply economic.
Right.
Which brings us to the 4th card, representing potential challenges. And that is the 6 of discs, upright. This points directly to the challenges around power dynamics and exchange.
The source specifically notes this involves questions of giving and receiving knowledge, technology, or resources. And frankly, this is the card that terrifies me the most.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, our entire global civilization is built on the concept of scarcity.
Right.
Energy, land, clean water, these are finite resources that literally dictate geopolitical power. If an extraterrestrial intelligence traverses the stars to reach us, their technology is vastly superior,
Obviously.
which means they likely operate in a post-scarcity reality.
Yeah.
Any contact inherently forces humanity to navigate a severe, almost incomprehensible power imbalance.
So let's game that out. Say they drop a schematic for a zero-point energy reactor onto the internet.
Okay.
Limitless, free energy, the utopian dream, right? But the immediate mechanism of that is catastrophic.
Yep.
The global petrodollar evaporates overnight. Entire geopolitical regions that rely on oil exports suddenly lose their entire GDP in an afternoon.
It would be absolute chaos.
The stock market doesn't just dip. The foundational metrics of human commerce cease to exist.
That is the exact tension the Six of Discs represents. Who manages that transition? Which nation gets to build the first reactor?
Right.
Which corporation patents the alien medical tech that cures cellular aging? And beyond that, the Six of Discs is the card of the merchant. It's about the scales.
Oh.
If we are receiving this universe-altering knowledge, what exactly is the price?
Right, because nothing is truly free, especially not in an exchange between unequal powers.
Exactly.
What do they want in return? Do they want our natural resources? Do they want our compliance?
We don't know.
What if they offer us the cure for all biological diseases? But the contractual stipulation is that humanity must entirely dismantle its nuclear arsenals and form a single unified global government under their oversight.
I mean, how does the United Nations handle an offer like that? Half the world would view them as saviors offering a utopia,
Yeah.
and the other half would view it as a hostile, bloodless takeover. The Six of Discs strips away all the romance of first contact and forces us to look at the cold, hard logistics of a paradigm shift.
Wow.
Humanity has historically failed at managing power dynamics and equitable exchange just among ourselves. The idea of navigating a transaction with an advanced interstellar civilization is staggering.
It's a really sobering thought. We dream of aliens landing on the White House lawn and answering all the mysteries of the universe. And this reading is basically saying, get ready for the most complicated, economically devastating customs and import-export paperwork in the history of the galaxy.
It's the ultimate stress test for human infrastructure.
Okay, so if our hardware freezes, if humanity is drowning in weaponized narratives, economic collapse, and massively uneven technological trades, where does this rocky exchange ultimately leave us?
We need to look at the final outcome.
Right, because we've gone from the fiery, charismatic spark to the muddy, bureaucratic reality. Now we need to look at the guidance on how we're actually supposed to survive this transition.
So the fifth card, representing the likely outcome, is the Devil, reversed.
Okay.
Astra Obscura notes this as a major step toward breaking free. It signifies liberation from long-standing fears, secrecy, or control systems.
So what does this all mean? Because I have to admit, if someone pulls the devil card during a reading about alien contact, my immediate visceral reaction is, well, that's it, we're doomed. They are here to harvest us.
That's a completely natural reaction to that imagery.
But the analyst explicitly calls this one of the most optimistic readings they've ever seen. I need you to break down how such an ominous-sounding archetype actually acts as the happy ending of this geopolitical nightmare.
This raises an important question, actually, about how deeply entrenched our current systems of control really are.
Okay.
To understand why this is optimistic, you have to understand the mechanism of the Devil card when it's upright. In tarot, the Devil upright doesn't mean a literal monster.
What does it mean?
It represents materialism, bondage, being trapped in toxic patterns, or being subjugated by hidden agendas. It's the chains we wear voluntarily because we are afraid of the unknown.
Chains like the extreme compartmentalization and secrecy surrounding the UFO phenomenon for the last 80 years.
Exactly.
Or the economic systems we just talked about that keep half the planet in poverty.
Precisely. It is the broader societal control systems. The fears that keep humanity divided, the narratives that keep us small and compliant.
Right.
When the card is reversed, the mechanism flips. The chains are dismantled, the illusion is broken.
Oh, wow.
What Astra Obscura is suggesting is that the alien contact, despite the agonizing logistical nightmare of the discs, serves as the ultimate necessary disruptor.
So the disruption is the cure. The very act of undeniable contact breaks the spell. The old control systems, the secrecy, the hoarding of technology, the geopolitical posturing, they simply shatter because they cannot contain a truth this massive.
Too big.
It's like breaking a terrible fever. You sweat, you shake, it's a miserable process, but the disease of secrecy is purged from the body, leaving you healthier on the other side.
It leaves you liberated. The archaic systems of control lose their leverage the very moment humanity realizes its actual place in the cosmos.
That's incredible.
But, and this is the crucial pivot of the entire reading, the source makes it abundantly clear that this liberation isn't just passively handed down by our new charismatic alien friends.
Oh, of course not.
No, it requires active, difficult participation from us, which ties directly into the final card, the guidance card, drawn as strength, upright.
Astra Obscura says, this is a reminder that humanity must meet this possibility with heart-centered strength, inner courage, patience, and calm confidence, rather than fear.
Because true liberation requires the psychological capacity to handle it. If our old control systems fall away, well, nature abhors a vacuum. What replaces them?
That's the real danger.
Exactly. If we meet the unknown with panic and hostility, if we let the logistical chaos and the weaponized narratives of the Two of Discs dictate our reaction, we will just hand over our agency and build brand new cages for ourselves.
We would just replace human overlords with extraterrestrial ones.
Exactly. Even if you think tarot is entirely metaphorical, you have to admit that this specific archetype is profoundly accurate.
Yeah, it really is.
The strength card in tarot is almost never depicted as a soldier with a weapon. It is usually depicted as a serene figure gently closing the jaws of a lion.
Wow.
It represents inner emotional resilience. It is the calm confidence required to look at a vast, intimidating, technologically superior unknown and hold your ground without losing your core humanity.
It's the psychological upgrade required to handle the match that was struck in the dark room. We have a choice. We can let the sudden light terrify us into bringing our own house down out of panic, or we can use that illumination to finally find the door and walk outside.
Exactly. The overall outlook from this esoteric framework is deeply hopeful, but it is not easy.
No, definitely not.
A genuine spark of contact ignites the world. The short-term structural integration is going to be an absolute system-freezing mess, but the longer arc points toward liberation.
We are being asked to evolve past our foundational fears.
We really are. The reading explicitly tells us to watch for those charismatic voices making bold claims, to critically analyze the incoming data when the information flow breaks down, but most importantly, to cultivate the emotional maturity needed to survive a paradigm shift.
This has been such a wild, layered journey through these 6 cards. For you listening right now, I want to bring this massive cosmic concept all the way down to a deeply personal level.
Good idea.
Why should you care about a mystical framework analyzing an alien contact scenario for April 2026?
Right. Why does it matter?
Because whether you view this deep dive as a literal forecast for extraterrestrial disclosure, or if you just see it as a powerful sociological metaphor for how our society handles any disruptive new technology like artificial intelligence or quantum computing, the reality is that you are living through this exact archetype right now.
You absolutely are.
Yeah.
You are constantly bombarded by visionary, charismatic figures selling you a new future. You have to navigate messy, conflicting information flows and weaponized narratives every single time you open your phone.
Every single day.
You are constantly watching global power dynamics and economic structures shift in real time.
We are all walking that path. We went from the sudden, undeniable spark of the wands, that moment when new information changes the game forever, through the absolute logistical nightmares and the complicated, heavy trade-offs of the discs. And it all culminated in this difficult but incredibly necessary liberation from old systems of control, represented by the reverse devil card. It's an arc of growth that demands profound inner strength from every single one of us.
It demands that we stop reacting out of scarcity and start responding with maturity.
Which leaves us with a fascinating, slightly unsettling thread to pull on.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We spent a lot of time debating the 6 of Discs and how it warned us about the incredible destabilizing challenges of giving and receiving advanced knowledge and resources during a contact scenario.
Right, the merchant card.
So I want to leave you with this final lingering thought to explore on your own.
Okay.
If an extraterrestrial intelligence were to suddenly pierce our atmosphere tomorrow, bypass all our governments, and offer humanity a massive, unearned leap in advanced technology, limitless energy, disease eradication, the secrets of the universe, are our current human systems actually mature enough to receive it?
That is the million-dollar question.
Or would we, lacking that necessary heart-centered strength, just take that beautiful cosmic gift and instantly turn it into another weaponized system of control?
It really makes you wonder who the real threat is in a first contact scenario. Is it the intelligence in the sky or the infrastructure on the ground?
It sure does. Because at the end of the day, when that radar screen in the underground bunker finally lights up with a definitive blip, the hardest part won't be acknowledging that they are here. The hardest part will be figuring out who we are in response.